Okay, we're going to look at lesson 3 now. So hopefully, as we go through this, you're going to be actually kind of building this stuff for the first time, not just looking at things and making small changes. So if it wasn't making sense in the lecture video, if it wasn't making sense during the lesson 2 video, hopefully today it starts to kind of click. This is one of those milestone lessons. So there's 3 apps, right? You are only choosing one of these 3 to do. Once you choose an app, you need to make sure on every level that you continue to work on the same app. So if you choose A, then as you go to levels 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, make sure you're still working on A. Otherwise, this is not going to make sense. A is the easiest of the 3, C is the hardest, right? B is somewhere in the middle. I strongly suggest that you just stick with A today, birds of a feather. And I'm going to go through every level with you as we go through this. So I know these videos this week are long, but this is not an easy thing to do online. So we're just going to kind of run this app. So you can see it's called Birds of a Feather. So when I run it, I get a picture of a bird, I get the name of the bird, I can go to the right to see different birds, I can go to the left. As I find birds that I like, I can add them to my favorites. All right, so maybe this one I'm like, oh, I like this one. Actually, this one is my favorite. So let's go ahead and put this one at number 1. So I can click this insert. It's going to move that to 1 and then move the other one down. And then I can kind of come through. It's like, oh, the blue heron. All right, I'll add that. All right, so we're kind of using that scrolling list pattern. We're using remove item. We're using append item. And we're kind of updating this app as we go. It asks what's the purpose of the app. I would just say the purpose of this app is for users to view the names and images of different bird and then create a list of their top 3 favorites. What's the functionality? I would say, it's using the scrolling list pattern to go through a list of bird name and pictures. It's then using the append item and insert item to build a list of their top 3 favorite birds. All right, so once you just kind of play around with this, go ahead and finish and continue. So we are going to, again, stick with the birds of a feather. Actually, it didn't even move me to 2, so let's make sure I go to 2. And then birds of a feather. All right, so each one of these levels is going to have a different milestone for us, so it's going to tell us what to do in the instructions, and then we're going to have some code comments to kind of help us know where to look. So we're looking at milestone 1 of 9 right now. And what it wants us to do is initialize the names and pictures list from the 100 Birds of the World data set. There is some text that'll show you where if you need to. It wants you to use get column, and it's kind of telling you what that should look like. And then you're going to use get column for the pictures, right? And then it wants you to initialize the index variable, and it wants you to represent the first displayed bird. You can select any number between 0 and 97. So they're just kind of choosing 10. So we're going to do the same thing. All right, so let's start doing this. All right, so first thing it wanted us to do was we have these variables, names and pictures, but we want to not just define them, we want to initialize them with a value, and we're going to use get column. So I would say the easiest way to do this is we're going to drag out var, right, for names and then pictures. And then I'm going to get rid of the 2 that they originally gave me. The only reason I'm doing this is because I wanted this equal with a blank space to the right of it. You could go to text mode and do this if you wanted, but I need to get that get column in there. So I'm going to go to data and I'm going to drag get column out for each one of these. So for the, where did it go? The birds, I want the name. And then for the pictures, I want the image. So I'm going to choose for the table. I'm going to choose the drop down, click choose, and it says I have not brought any in, right? Which we kind of talked about. So I need the 100 Birds of the World data set. So I can go to data, I can try to find it if I want by going to animals, it's right there. If you didn't know, you could always just start typing something in. But once you click on it, right, so whether you search for it or you find it, you're on your own, you're going to click import, right, and then it's going to show up for you over here. So if I go to my code, right, I'm going to hit choose, and there's 100 birds of the world. So for each one of these, I want to choose the 100 birds of the world. For this names variable, the column I want to bring in is name. And for the pictures, I want to bring in, the image of a bird. All right, it told me what to do up here. Also for this index variable, it wants me to set it to a random number between 0 and 97. They suggest 10, so I'm just going to do that. For this one, again, I could drag a new variable out, remove the one that I had. The other way to do it is just to kind of go in here and just put it in directly. All right, so I've added the get column for names, I've added the get column for the pictures, and I've updated my index to that random number. There is some testing that we can do. I'm not going to do that because I know I've done it right. So I finished milestone 1. I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm going to go ahead and continue. All right, and we're going to go to milestone 2, which is on level 3. Again, I'm going to stick with the birds app. All right, so for milestone 2, they want to display the information from the names in the screen element name label. So we're going to use set text functions to display the information that's stored in names index in the screen element name label. This is the example that they're giving me. This is what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to go to milestone 2, which is right here. And they're telling me first to use set text. Right. The ID that they're telling me to use is the name label. And the text, this is where I need to get names at whatever value is in this index variable. So it's going to start at 10. So to do this, you can go to variables, and there's this list with a square bracket and then a 0 in between. So I'm going to drag this over to my text. I know the name of my list is names, right? I created up here, so I'm going to say, hey, on the names list, but instead of 0, I'm going to use that index variable that I created. Right, so this will basically, once I, call this update home screen function, it's going to set this text in here to whatever bird name is at the index number that I'm currently looking at in this list, right? Which for me is going to be index 10 to start. Again, that number doesn't really matter. Just make sure in step 1 you do something between 0 and 97. All right. They also want me to not only set the name, but set the image. So there is a UI control that's set image URL. You could do this with set property if you wanted, but set image is just an easier, more direct way to do it. So what I'm going to do, I should use the bird image ID. And this, again, I'm going to have to use my variable here for my pictures list, because that is a list that has all of the bird images. So I'm going to use the same variable block, but this time instead of the names, I'm going to look at the pictures list. And again, instead of just defaulting to 0, I want to use that index number that I have. Right? If you haven't noticed, I have the right and left buttons here, so I'm going to be working with this, scrolling list pattern, which is why I'm using this index variable, because I'm going to be updating this index as I move right and left and this is going to be how I show the name and the picture for the correct element that I'm looking at. So that's it for this third level. Again, you can test your code. It tells you some ways to do it, but I'm going to skip that part. I'm just going to, run and finish this so I can continue. And now I'm going to be going to level 4 so I can do step 3. Alright, so on milestone 3, it says when the user presses the right button, sure they cannot scroll past the end of the list. So in the on event for the right button, which is right here, on event for the right button, replace the true statement in here with an if conditional to check if the user is not trying to navigate too far forward. So if you remember from that scrolling list pattern, this is where we want to make sure that our index is not, less than, I'm looking, you could use names or pictures right here. I'm going to use names, dot length minus 1. All right, again, this is that scrolling list pattern. If it doesn't make sense at this point, just memorize it. When we're trying to go to the right, this is what our if statement looks like. So as long as this is true, it's going to let me add 1 to the index. Now, for the left button, I need to make sure that I don't go too far left. So again, I have my on event for the left button. There's an if that just has true. They want me to change this to make sure I don't go too far to the left. So to do that, I want to make sure that my index is not greater than 0. Right? That will stop me from going too far to the left. Right, so to finish this level, you should have index less than names length minus 1 on line 21. And on line 29, it should say if index is greater than 0. Go ahead and let me subtract 1 so I can keep going left or keep going right within the bounds of my list using that length and knowing that my first element is 0. So again, there's some ways to test this if you want. I'm going to go ahead and skip that. So we're going to run this and finish it and then continue. All right, now we're going to look at level 5, the 4th milestone. This one is going to do with how we update our favorites. All right, so we know our favorites. I can add up to 3 favorites. So there's a favorites list up top on line 5. It's an empty list right now. Right, so I'm on this one. It just wants me to do, looks like 2 things. Right, so we're looking at milestone 4, which is right here in this favorites button. So when we do this, basically I'm going to make this add favorites work. Right, so first task, add the selected bird to the favorites list when the user clicks, this add to favorites button. So we are going to use append item because that's how I can add something, right, to my list. And again, I'm just adding it to the end because at this point I haven't said this is my first, second, or third favorite. I just want to add it to my list. So when I add this, right, I'm adding it to my favorites list, which is going to start as empty, but at this point I'm saying, okay, I'm ready to add something to it. So favorites. And what I want to add is names, square bracket, index. Right. I have this index that I've been using, right? I can go left or go right. It doesn't matter. Whichever index I'm currently on. I want to go to this names list, find the value at that index, and then I'm going to add it to my favorites as a new element in my list. Right? So that's the first task. The second one is the hide favorite button. All right, so the add favorite button is on, let's see here, that's line, we're going to be looking at line 39 now. Sorry, it's 39 on before you make the change. So we just did this. As soon as we do that, we're going to call update favorite. So it's going to take us into this function. And you can see there's two UI elements in here. One is to show an element, one is to hide an element. So basically what we're saying is, hey, if I have 3 elements in my favorites list, then I need to add the hide favorites button because I can't add a 4th element to it, right? So to do this, it's saying, all right, if favorites list is greater than 3, in the update favorites function, write a conditional expression in the place of the true statement that will hide the favorites button if the favorites list already contains 3 birds. So what I want to do is come here on my screen, it's line 44, and I want to say if favorites dot length, because that will get me the length of my list. If that is less than 3, right, meaning I have nothing in there, 1 item, 2 items, or 3 items, go ahead and show this favorite button. Once my length gets to 3, right, 3 is not less than 3, that will evaluate to false, and it's going to hide the button. All right. And that was the second test. So once you have this, you can go ahead and run it, finish it, and we're going to move to milestone 5. So go to lesson level 6, milestone 5. All right. And it says you can click the instructions below to expand. So add at least 3 of your own elements to the notification list. Right? These notifications are going to show up in here. So it wants you to add 3 things in here. Basically, we're taking this favorites list and we're creating it. Right? We're going to not make it an empty list. We want to, it says add 3 things. So I'm going to click to the right 3 times. And what they want us to put is nice choice, that's a cool bird, and then these smiley faces with, you know, hearts, I guess. So I'm just going to kind of copy and paste these. So I'm going to copy this first one, and I'm going to put it in my first square bracket. Then I'm going to grab the second one, making sure I include the quotes because this is a string. And then I'm going to get the third one and I'm going to put it into this third box. Right, so now I have added those. You see your example, what it should look like. That's what yours should look like. And that's it. So I'm still getting this warning basically because I've created this variable, but I haven't used it yet. But that's okay for right now. So once you do that, we're going to go ahead and run this, finish it, and then we're going to go to lesson level 7 and continue with the birds. All right, so when we're looking at 7, we're going to start looking at the insert button. So this is how we can insert items to our list. So milestone 6. Display one of the elements in your notification list randomly when you do this, right? So, show me where. So I'm looking now at milestone 6, right, which is down here. For me, it's line 54, the update notification. They want me to use set text function to display a random message from the notifications label element, or well, from the notifications list in the notification element. We're going to use random number to do this. So if you remember from that random access pattern, we need to set our lowest number to 0. Our max number is going to be 1 minus our list length. In this case, our list is notifications. Right, so it wants me to use set text, which is one of my yellow UI controls. It's telling me to look at this notifications label. We go to notifications label. And then in here, I need to do a couple things, right? I know I'm dealing with a list, so I'm going to go back to this list square bracket 0. I'm going to put this in here. And then I'm going to go to math because I need to use a random number. So I'm going to drag the random number where the 0 is in between my square brackets. I know the first element in my list is always index 0. So that's where I want to start. And then in here, I'm going to drag out the minus sign because I need to go to my list length minus 1. So this should say notifications dot length, right? Because I want to take the length of that list and I want to subtract 1 from it. Because I know my indexes start at 0. So my last index number is always going to be 1 minus my list length. So if my list is, 56 for the length, I know my last index number is 55. Right? The one thing I forgot to do here is put the name of the list. So this is notifications. All right, so this is kind of a long thing that we created, but basically it's saying, hey, I want to access notifications, open square bracket, close square bracket. What's going to go inside of that square bracket is a number. It's going to be a random number between 0 and the length of my list minus 1. Right, so in this case, I believe there were 98 elements in this list. So my index numbers are 0 through 97. So this will basically generate a random number between 0 and 97 for me. All right. So that's milestone 6. So we're going to run finish, continue. All right, then we're going to go to level 8 so we can work on milestone 7. All right, this one's going to deal with that insert button doing the favorite index. So milestone 7's got 2 tasks for us. So one within the insert button event, which is towards the bottom. All right, it's actually the last on event, insert button. We see milestone 7. So within this, we want to create a new variable to save the value from the position drop down to it. So create a new variable. So that's telling me I'm going to come in here. If I expand this, it says, okay, go ahead and create this new variable called favorite index. So in here, I'm going to write favorite index. Oops. Make sure I click on it. And it wants me to get the number from this drop-down list. Right. So to do that, I'm going to use the get number, which is, where did that go? Get number. I'm going to put that over here. I want to get the number from my favorites drop-down list, right, which is called position drop-down. Right. Again, it's in the instructions, but you can also look at it over here. And what I need to do, right, they've numbered these 1, 2, and 3, but I know, right, if there's 3 items in my list, my first element has index 0, my second element has index 1, and then my third element has index 2. So again, I need to not just grab this number, I need to subtract 1 from it so I can get the correct index. Right, so in here I should have a minus 1. Right, so that was kind of the first part. Then the second part is to actually do the insert, which is here. So it wants me to use insert item to insert this bird that I'm looking at to the correct position. So I'm going to go to my variables. I'm going to find insert item. Right, insert item takes three things. First is the name of the list that I want to insert this to, which is my favorites. Right, favorites is the list of all the favorites that I have in this app. Second is the position that I want to insert it at. All right, which is what I just got from my drop down. So my second one is favorite index. And then third is the actual name of that bird. So to do that, I'm going to need to use my access list function. I know I'm looking at the name, right? My names list. And again, I have that index that I'm using that I can use to access that bird's name in that list. All right, and that is milestone 7. So once you have that, you can finish, continue. Then we're going to go to level 9 so we can do milestone 8. Right, this one is going to work on removing stuff. Right, so create a conditional test if the length of the favorites list is greater than or equal to 3. All right, so we are going to replace the true statement in the if-else condition with an expression that evaluates if the length of the favorites list is greater than 3. So milestone 8, down towards the bottom, we have this true. So it's just saying, hey, make sure that your favorites list length is not greater than 3. So we're going to write favorites dot length as long as that's not greater than 3. Right? Just kind of took that from this example. 2 says remove the last item in the favorites list if the length is greater than or equal to 3. So within the conditional, use the remove item function to remove the last entry in the favorites list. So I'm going to use remove item, put it inside my if block. Right? The list that I want to remove it from is favorites. And I want to remove the last element. All right, so if you haven't guessed yet, I'm going to use favorites dot length minus 1, because again, I know if my length is 5, the last element in my ID is going to have an index of 4. All right, so that is basically it for. Actually, I did forget to do something here, didn't I? Or it got deleted. This is where I think I just accidentally removed that right from milestone 7. So that is milestone 8. So I'm going to run and finish. All right, and then I'm going to go to the last level. I'm going to go to birds. All right, and now let's see what it has for me. All right, so milestone 9. Look through the possible ways you could continue to modify and extend this app, then pick one or more to work on. So I'm not going to require you to do this. Basically, when you get here, you should be able to run your app. Everything should work, so you can add, right? Oops, I got an error, right? So when I added it, it removed an item. So I need to go in and fix that, right? So that, let's see, when I click the favorite button, update favorites, let's see what I did here. Right, if my favorites dot length, looks like I smelled it wrong. All right, favorites dot length. So if I reset and run it now, I should be able to add favorites, right? I should be able to put it to specific spots. All right, and if I add a new one, it's not going to let me anymore. But I could say, hey, actually this, I want it to be on too. Right, and I'm getting random things as I do it. So it looks like it's working. All right, so you can go ahead and finish. All right, and then that will get you through lesson 3. So again, it's a lot to take in. Hopefully this kind of helps you with this. Some of this stuff for now, if you need to, just kind of memorize it. It's going to start making sense. We're not going to stop doing this stuff. We're just going to keep doing it. Even as we move on to, additional topics and additional units. But if you have any questions, make sure you come by my room. Otherwise, shoot me an email.